pressure like a bevel dig inside my brain.
What's up, fam? Welcome back to the Time is Ripe podcast. My name is Scott Smith, and I am your host here on the Time is Ripe. This is a podcast where we go back in time to discuss things that happened in our community, which is called Ripe Creatives. We're a ministry based in the great city of Philadelphia. We leverage the arts for the purpose of missions and community transformation, making impacts on people's lives. We do a lot of fun things here in the city, as well as around the region. Sometimes we get booked for shows. Sometimes we throw our own shows. And today is going to be a really special episode because we are doing something we've only talked about actually one time before on this podcast, though we've done so many of these. But we typically don't shoot episodes about these events just because they're super complicated. A lot goes on, and you know they're all very unique and different. But we are talking about something very near and dear to our hearts. It's actually probably the thing that we've done the longest in our community.
It could almost be considered the backbone of Ripe. I don't know.
It's
in
a
some
backbone.
aspects.
It's a backbone.
Yeah.
It's a part of the spinal cord.
It's one of the vertebrae.
It's one of the tree trunk main limbs at the bottom, the ones you climb up first to climb up the tree. That is our Creatives Open Mic experiences.
Yes.
So we're going to be talking about an open mic under the platform of Creatives Philly, which is like a third space platform that we've created here in the city to serve artists, artists of faith, as well as artists who are outside of the faith looking in or exploring faith or thinking about faith or just open to the idea of being around other people who do carry faith. So it's been a really, really important thing that we've done for 5 or 6 years. We've hosted a lot of them, dozens and dozens and dozens of these events over the years. And without these events, actually, a lot of the Ripe artists that are currently in our community probably wouldn't be in our community because they found out about us through this open mic space. It's been kind of a bridge into the community of Ripe for a lot of people. It's actually the beginning of mine and the co-host of this podcast relationship, Jarrett Top Mob Moses.
Oh my God, that's me.
That is you. Yes. Jarrett and I actually met through Creatives Philly.
Yeah.
Throwing events. We needed a sound engineer. Jarrett showed up. I think we've told this story on the
original setting the stage.
The original setting the stage.
Episode 0.
Episode 1. According to Spotify,
Pinecast counted it as 1, but we say episode 0.
Either way, so Creatives has been significant for our community, and the open mics is kind of as Jared said, the backbone of all of our Creatives experiences. It's where everything else flows out of. And December 5th, 2023 is the date we're going back to. It was a Tuesday night. It was cold. It was December, pushing towards the holidays. We threw a Creatives Café at the Story Factory Philly in North Philadelphia, a place that we're at all the time. Love doing shows there, love doing events there. And this one was no different. Now, to talk about this event, we actually brought 2 of the open mic performers into the room that both performed on the show. One was a predetermined incognito feature that we had talked to, and we'll get to that. The other was a quote-unquote open micer on the lineup. He was there to promote a thing called Two Lines.
May or may not have purposefully snuck him in.
He was on. He got pulled. His name was pulled. It wasn't a cheat code lottery style. It wasn't. I promise. Jake's name got pulled. Jake from State Farm. Welcome to the Time is Right podcast. Introduce yourself. Tell these people who you are.
Thank you, Scott. Yes, I'm Jake, not from State Farm.
What are you wearing? Jake from State Farm.
I thought like maybe when they changed Jake from State Farm to a black guy, like, people would stop using that joke, but nobody cares about the new Jake from State Farm. They only know the guy with the khakis. So yeah, I've heard that joke a lot of times.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Everyone has their name in a commercial that no one forgets, right? Or is it just me?
Listen, everyone goes to Jared. Trust me, I've heard that one a lot.
But that's not even how your name is spelled.
No, it's not. They don't care.
Embarrassing. It's crazy.
Just keep in the mic.
Yeah, let me just keep talking into the mic. My name is Jacob Doggett. Most people call me Jake. Some people don't even know that my name is Jacob. I've gotten wedding invitations and other formal mail from people, and they've just put Jake on it. But yeah, my full name is Jacob. I am a construction worker, born and raised in the Philadelphia area. I help out with an open mic called Two Lines here in Philly. It's a great poetry open mic, wonderful space, wonderful people. Just speaking of the, I guess, history of the open mic, that was what I thought you guys did when I met you, Scott, at a little thing called Headwater House. What, like 3 years ago now? I don't know. Something like that, yeah. Which was just a group of creative type people in Philadelphia meeting together in a Christian context. And my good friend Greg Snow, who is the head honcho of Two Lines Open Mic, dragged me there, and then he dragged me to one of you guys' open mics. You guys, I think at High Point Cafe, that was the first time I had ever even performed at an open mic. That was when I was rapping, if you remember correctly.
I remember you doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you cut your hair, and I didn't realize you were the same person for like 2 events.
Facts. Jake used to have long hair.
I did. Yeah, so I think I performed twice rapping at your open mics, and then my transition into poetry was at the Creatives, the Pier, the outdoor event. Yeah, the debut of Silence. Yes, indeed. So yeah, just that open mic is, I think, the best space that I've been into for people who are unaccustomed to performing. So if there are any listeners out there who are in the Philadelphia area who would like to perform but have never done so, look out for the next Creatives open mic, because the environment is always so welcoming and energetic, and you'll feel like you've done it before when you go up on the stage. And so, yeah.
That's love, Jake. Thank you for that shameless plug to support the value of Creatives open mics that we're talking about today. Our other guest, our final guest, was the closing incognito feature on December 5th, 2023. And that would be Roberto Morales.
Yeah, you always call me that. He literally introduced me with that name when on the stage. I'm like, wait, what? Because I was wondering what you were going to introduce me as. But yeah, my full name is actually Roberto Julius Morales, but everybody calls me Rob.
Everybody calls him Rob except for me.
Yeah. So he calls me my real name, but my name's Rob Morales. That's kind of who I identify as. I'm a Puerto Rican male.
Put it out there, baby.
I was going to say, we listen to a police scanner right now?
I do want to say, when I met Rob, I thought he was Indian.
Yo, that is the craziest thing I ever heard.
In my phone, his contact name is Rob with the Indian flag next to it.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
He looks like the Indian kids I went to high school with. I don't know. Maybe don't put that in, Jared. But there for like 3 months, I thought he was Indian.
Yeah, and I went to my friends and I was like, do I look Indian? And then they were actually saying, like, yeah, you could pass for Indian, so. I mean, it's all, whatever, like. But I'm Rob, I'm Puerto Rican, I guess I look Indian. I can pass for Middle Eastern, or Italian. Yeah, I just got my baby tooth extracted the other day.
What?
Yeah, and I have an adult tooth coming in.
Good for you,
But
man.
I wish you guys could see. But anyway, yeah, my name's Rob. I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter, a worship leader, a brother, a boyfriend, soon to be engaged. I work as a home health aide. I take care of a patient with MS in the process of getting my real estate license. And I'm just happy to be here. I got introduced to Scott and Jarrett. How did I get introduced to you guys? I think I met you maybe at Headwater House. Like that first time, or maybe at an open mic?
Yeah, I think we probably met at Headwater.
Being you.
Yep.
I mean, this isn't your first time on the podcast, because that's how we met. Because you
true.
came through, you were here just hanging out when we did the Worship Fest episode, and that's how I met you.
No, but I met you before. No, I saw you in your work mode.
I don't remember anyone.
We didn't officially meet, but I saw you like in your bag, like working and setting stuff up. I think it was at Worship Fest, maybe in the rain.
Oh yeah, because you had come to the event. Yeah. I didn't remember anyone's face from that day.
It's the rain.
Yeah, but that was a great cameo having you on the Worship Fest pod. Rob wasn't slated to be there, but he came with somebody else who was on the episode,
I drove
aka Greg. And Greg doesn't have a car, so he needed a ride from Rob. And Rob just was like, yo, let me jump in. So we gave him a microphone, and he ended up talking and sharing some beautiful stuff on that episode. So, Rob, your formal introduction was fantastic.
Nice.
Guys, it's great to be on this podcast with you guys. I'm super excited to have both of you on officially for Rob the first time, Jake the first time all over. Both of you guys have been, such a blessing to our city. I know Rob, is just an amazing worship leader at a church that some of the people in Ripe actually attend and go to. And so, you've been a big blessing to them. And then Jake, as he mentioned, is a part of the Two Lines Philly team. And so beyond creatives open mics, there's also the Two Lines Poetry Spoken Word open mic. They actually do that open mic pretty much every month, with the exception of maybe a bigger show like a slam or something competition. But Two Lines is running open mics even more consistently than creatives is now. And Jake's a big part of putting those things together. So it's good to have both of you guys on an episode about the space that kind of brought us all together, which was the open mic space. So
Good to be here, man.
it's going to be fun. Now, Jarrett, before we dive into actual December 5th, because we've only done one other episode in 2 seasons about an open mic, we should probably give a little bit more background to the open mic space.
Yeah, probably. It's to me, I view it as like that's our actual outreach as a ministry. Like we get to go into all these spaces as artists and like in some ways like go into communities with block parties, go out and do ministry at all these events. But this is where we get into the core of Ripe, because Ripe is supposed to be ministry to artists through art. And this is where we get to be representing Christ on stage with Christian artists and allowing non-Christian artists to come up, but they're also being influenced because they're seeing who we have start the show, who we have in the middle of the show, and who ends the show.
Yep. No, it's fair. Yeah, it's definitely a third space model. If you ever check out like the Two Lines episode, we talked a lot about our philosophy of ministry as a group, and just feeling like, man, there's enough very churchy, very Christian spaces in our world.
Yeah,
there needs to be more third spaces where we can engage people that are going to be willing to step across the line to hear different things and hear the gospel presented to them in a language and in a way and in a space that makes sense for them to be at already. And so that's kind of how we've done things. The biggest thing I will say about our open mic, probably reiterating, our first episode about an open mic, I believe it was on season 1 with Eves.
Yep.
But it bears repeating, 30 episodes later. So it's a cross-genre open mic.
Yes.
And it's cross-genre by design, so that it wouldn't ever become just a poetry space or just a singer-songwriter space or just a hip-hop space. We designed the night to be extremely diverse from the artistry that's presented. And we do that by literally putting our lineup together and having buckets that people drop their names into based upon genre, and we only pull a certain number of each of those genres out and then build the lineup to be a roller coaster throughout the night. What we have found is what we do, I think, is pretty unique. Now, a lot of folks have been trying to do what we do, and that's fine. But I think we were very like the variety show kind of feel that you had like on the old, PBS or whatever. Like it's that, but with a whole lot of excellence behind it. And all of our incognitos and the people that we're pre-selecting are going to be very high, excellent performers to make sure that the quality of the night doesn't dip.
Right.
Now, by the grace of God, we're in the city of Philadelphia, and there's a crap ton of talent in this city. I think it's one of the most densely populated talent places in America. Everywhere. Everybody's an artist in Philadelphia. And so our open mics are really good. Not just from who we pre-selected, but who walks up.
Random people.
Random people are amazing at what they do. This one, December 5th, 2023, I think was maybe the best one we ever had.
December 5th?
Like in terms of the talent.
Back to back to back to back. It's like these people are in the open mic. They're not actually performing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not the ones who are being picked. Like, they were just random people. It seemed as though like they were all like picked performers beforehand because it was that good.
Yeah, it was just artist after artist after artist there was very few, if any, dips in the night in terms of the quality of performances. And it was absolutely insane.
I think there's something to be said about like how we put these events on, like how much effort we put into making them feel like such a professional level for them that it makes the people who are better, who are professional, it makes them want to come out, and it makes like anyone who's going on that stage want to do their absolute best and bring their A game.
Yes, even if they're new,
Yes.
it draws them out of a lower level of excellence. Because we've all been to open mics where it's just like a speaker in the corner with a microphone and whatever. Like, we're talking about the chairs, the lights, the sound, the DJ, right? The live band, right? We actually bring a live band in, a 4-piece live band for every open mic, which is really just like a New York City standard for open mics that we've tried to make sure that we implement into Philly. And Philly has open mics with live bands, but I'm saying we wanted to make sure we were one of the best ones around. And so bringing a live band in to make it feel like, yo, this is a whole show. Like, even if you're just coming not to perform, you're going to experience something that was worth, if it was $10 to get in or it was free to get in, it was worth your time. And what we've seen is, in a 2-hour run of show, people don't want to leave for as long as possible afterwards because it went so well. They just want to stick around. They want to be out in the street. People are talking in the middle of the road until like 1 a.m. because it's just that contagious of an environment. So we've been really blessed. Creatives Cafe open mics are always good. It's sometimes hard to get one of the performers in for a conversation. But shout out to Jake and Rob for being here for this. Yep. Now, Jake, you've been around creatives before. As you said in your intro, your first time ever doing spoken word was at a creatives. You also rapped a couple times at creatives. Like, anything that you would just add about your creatives experience, like as an audience member, what you see whenever you're at one of our open mics? Yeah.
I mean, I would say, like, I have a lot of agreement with what you guys are saying about the show and the quality of it. Like, you could go to an open mic and it was like mostly the audience is people who went to the bar and it was like, what the heck? There was an open mic going on over here. You know what I'm saying? And like, the host doesn't have control of the room. The sound quality's bad. The seating's not all facing the stage, things like that. Or you have open mics where the first half is okay and then they have a break and half of the people didn't come back in after the break. And then you have creatives open mic, which is, like you just said, it's like it's a show the whole way through. Like, you don't lose attention. And I think it's something to be said too, because like having that many genres, like there was a hip hop dancer, right? I just remember that just came back to my head on December 5th. There was like a girl who went up there and just danced, and it was like she's going up, and I'm like, how can it? Like, what is this? Like, this is an open mic. Like, how is this even allowed? Right? But it was like. But like she
doesn't
there,
need a mic.
Open stage.
But she went up there and she killed it. And I think, obviously a lot of it, shout out to Jarrett and shout out to you, Scott, for your hosting, and Jarrett for the sound, and like everything is just engineered to quality, and you guys keep the show running, and there's a lot that goes into moving the act from one act to the next. That you guys just do everything very efficiently and very well. And then obviously I think, Scott, your network in the city draws out the talented people from all the time you spent going around and performing at other people's open mics, Like, I've been to other open mics with you where people make you come up and perform, because they haven't seen you in a while.
I'm old, guys.
Yeah, so
been around the block.
So yeah, I mean, I really have nothing but good things to say. It's still my favorite open mic to go to.
I appreciate that, man. It means a lot. There's a lot of great ones out here, but I think we have found something special. Rob, what about for you? I know you'd only been to maybe one before. Yeah. You've been to other concerts and stuff too. Like, just talk to me about your experience with the creatives.
Yeah, well, real quick, I mean, that girl, I think she was like 16, and her mom
she's 14.
Her mom was
14.
Was in the audience. Like,
her mom signed a waiver.
It was crazy. But yeah, just that in and of itself, like, you get the people, like, you get just like, you would never expect something like this to even like go on. I mean, this being my first or second creatives open mic, yeah, man, just the standard that was set, like what Jarrett was saying, I really, I can attest to that, because it was like these people, these random people who I never met or I did not know were just coming up and just like, oh my gosh, what is their Instagram? Like these people are artists. Like they just knew what they were doing. Like, and it set a standard for me, especially it being my first time performing. I'm sitting here like, dang, well, I got to bring the A game. Like these people are like amazing performers. But yeah, as a whole, yeah, just to encourage you guys too, you guys really do, you guys do this stuff in excellence and with excellence. Like, no games being played, you know what I mean? Like you guys are locked in when the show starts, like when stuff's hitting the fan, y'all are in y'all bag and getting right and making sure that everything's, going in like how it's supposed to. But I remember, I think, Scott, your wife wasn't there, and usually she kind of does the logistics of things. And that was maybe there were some mishaps that was happening or something like that with the pooling. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible we might have messed up some things along that, because we were just going through super hard family time.
Yeah.
So my wife wasn't able to be there. That was actually the first creative she wasn't at. But I will say overall, whatever mishaps we did have were minimal.
Yeah, it was still fire,
minimal.
of course.
And
Yeah.
It was
I
like,
was so impressed with the team. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like the whole team stepped up in Dar's absence, because Dar is really the engine behind creatives, like in the sense of everything being that way and
you
organized.
Said that. You were like, yeah, Dara's not here. You said that on the stage, but it still was still, even without her, it was like still running really like efficient and great. So.
Yeah, I felt like that was the grace of God, because like I was struggling. My wife's not here. You know, we're going through the loss of a family member, her mom. It was like super heavy time for us as a couple. And she was back there with her mom, and I was at that event, going to leave right after to go back to the hospital while her mom was in the final days at the hospital. So it was like very, very heavy time. And I just felt like God's grace, the event going so well to the point where we're like, we got to do an episode about this, is a testament not to like our own strength, but our weakness and God showing up. And I just felt like everybody was very compassionate towards me and Dar to be like, we're stepping up.
yeah, it was
awesome.
It was a mixture of, like you said, of God's grace, but also like the way God has put a love for you and Dar in everyone's hearts, and the way everyone wanted to step up. Like, Dar can't be here, we're not going to let that like make this event fall short. We want her to feel it's okay to take the time she needs for herself.
Yep. Yeah. So Emily stepped up big time. Liv stepped up.
Mallory
always steps up.
Simone.
Simone was there.
Shout out the Two Lines' very own Miss Simone Wesley.
I know Simone stepped in. I mean, that was super clutch, because Simone and Dar actually like very much kindred hearts, kindred personality types, and kindred gifts. They actually have a lot of the same gifts. And Simone's just great at what she does. So having her kind of stand in some ways for Dar was really good. But it takes three people to fill Dar's shoes. I mean, it genuinely does. But everybody stepped up, you know, even just like the band, like, you know, they all stepped up. And G always steps up when needed, and he's already standing up. He doesn't need to step up. He's already on the top shelf.
He can't step any higher.
He already top shelf. But the team just was operating on really all cylinders. Even if I felt weak or felt like I, you know, maybe wasn't in my A game as the host or whatever, the event was so good that we're sitting here talking about it.
Right.
You know,
Overall, it really wasn't even noticeable to the point where it was like, you had brought it up and you were saying like there's some stuff going on behind the scenes, and honestly probably wasn't, it was minor, it was like the picking of the names or something like that. But overall, being my first or second open mic, it was like, bruh, this is just amazing. It was just like excellently ran.
Appreciate you guys. Now let's talk about it, the actual night of the event. Done a lot of selling what we do to you who listen to this podcast from all over the country. You may never make it to one of these, but we hope you do. They're awesome. But yeah, the night of the event, December 5th. We always open doors 6:45 for our open mics to be starting running with our opening Incognito featured by about 7:15, 7:20. First half hour, people are hanging out. People are buying stuff from the vendors. Shout out to Great Awakenings and the Pudding Guy and all the vendors that we have at our various events over the years. We appreciate you guys a ton, but people are just kind of connecting. Music's playing with DJ Ant G. It's a lot of relationships and networking to start the show. And this night was really special because we opened the night with Wind and Sail. Graham and Abby. They're awesome. They're from New Hampshire. They moved to Philly, relatively recently. Funny story about them. They actually sent me an email, probably, 6 months before this event happened.
I remember when you told me that you got that email. Like we were on the phone like right when you got it or right when you read it. I think so.
Yeah. So I get this email from this couple and they're like, hey, our names are Graham and Abby. We're a couple from New Hampshire. We go by Wind and Sail. We're moving to the city of Philadelphia, or we've been in the city of Philadelphia for a short amount of time. And we basically we're looking up Christian creatives or Christian artists, and Ripe Creatives keeps coming up. Like on all the SEOs, all the Google searches, we're actually a high on a lot of these things now, which is kind of crazy. If you look up Philly spoken word, it's us and Voices in Power. If you look up Philly singer-songwriters, it's us and So Far, So Ripe Creatives is very, very much a Googleable thing, at this point. So they found us, heard about us, whatever. So he just sends me this crazy email. Let's connect. I respond to the email hey, why don't you come to a family night sometime, meet everybody. We have this creatives going. He ends up not responding actually because life got crazy. 4 months later, me and Greg Snow and Leah Wren are doing a show at Arcadia University. And Graham is there from Wind and Sail performing at the same show at Arcadia. Wow. And we start talking, and I'm like, man, Wind and Sail, that sounds so familiar. And then he's like, wait, are you that guy that I emailed?
No way.
And I was like, probably. And then we went through my email and found the email that he sent to me. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry I never responded to your response, but we're connected now. And I was like, what are you doing next week? Because we have an open mic. I would be happy to throw you on it just as a first time. Graham and Abby have now kind of been around our community basically ever since this open mic.
Yeah, they've really stepped up and stepped into the whole family dynamic. It's just it's been cool getting to know them more and more every time I see them.
Amazing people. They do singer-songwriter duo stuff. What do you guys remember just about Wind and Sail?
I got a funny story. My buddies from Cali, John Mark Pantana, Mark Barlow, they were here. Him and Antoine Bradford, just great artists, Christian artists. They were here touring in Philadelphia. Well, Philadelphia was they were here in Philly, but it wasn't really Philly. It was in Orland, PA or something. And it was at this Presbyterian church. It happened to be at his church. And I went to the concert, and he was opening for them, and I never met him. This is way before any of this even happens. So I'm like, yo, this dude is amazing. He was by himself because his wife was sick or something. He had said that. So it was just Wind. It wasn't Wind and Sail. But yeah, he was...
sure he's not the Sail?
No, I don't know.
I don't know which one's which.
But, yo, they're talented, but... just, oh my gosh, bro, hearing him sing, I remember going up to him. He was the opening act and opening performance. And I was just like, bro, you're insane. You're amazing. And then randomly, somehow, some way, I see him. I'm like, bro, didn't you open up? He's like, yeah. And then we just chatted up. But yeah, that's how I know. It's pretty funny. It's random as well. So
yeah. He's on staff. Him and his wife are on staff at Orland Presbyterian Church.
Yeah,
that sometimes brings artists in for different shows as well, which I think is probably very much Graham and Abby's influence.
Yeah, I talked to him a little bit about that. He will purposefully reach out to artists that he knows are going to be in the area. Hey, you want to come do a show here and I can open for you?
That's amazing.
It's his networking. It's genius. Give him a venue and then you get to play with them.
Absolutely. Well, he sounds like Phil Wickham. Legitimately has a Phil Wickham tone to it.
He's
good, but him and Abby together with the harmonies and everything else is so good. Mm-hmm. You can actually find a video, the YouTube video of one of the songs that they did in their opening, Incognito. But shout out to Wind and Sail. Getting into the open mic after that, we pull all these names, And we'll probably run past a lot of these, but just to name them, we had Sir Gene, who's a Ripe poet.
Yes.
We had Lil Sint, who's been a regular at the last few Creatives Open mics that we've done. He keeps coming out. I think he loves it.
We love having him.
He keeps coming. So I think
real quick,
it's been
I don't
good.
have Instagram. I need to know. I don't even know why, because I'm feeling like some sort of conviction right now of why I haven't even been a part of the community as a whole. Because I know a whole bunch of people in the community, but when and where are these open mics or whatever you guys have? Because I don't have Instagram right now, so I want to know how can I get there and when?
Well, there's a newsletter.
Well, there's also this little thing called the community line.
Oh, yeah, that's true. 215-273-3540.
Oh, shoot.
You can text the words "time is ripe" or the word "creatives," and we can send you all that stuff directly to your phone via text.
Look at
Great
that.
question, Rob. I don't know if that was like a
I was
plug
really
or you
serious.
being dead serious. It sounded like a marketing ploy.
No,
It
seriously,
did. It was
is
really
it
funny.
monthly? Like, I'm serious. Is it like a monthly?
So our Creatives Open mics are not. Going into next year, 2024 stuff, like we have a plan to do them all summer. We're exploring a whole bunch of things.
Okay, cool.
But we typically do like 3 to 4 of them a year.
Okay.
We used to do like 10 to 12 a year.
Oof.
And
Yeah, I remember that.
we realized that was like,
They were
too
great,
much?
but we just didn't get enough people coming out to warrant doing it every month.
Okay.
so then we switched over to the concerts, and then Emily brought the gallery vision. So now Creatives is more of like a multi-dimensional platform
Nice.
where the open mics is really just one piece of the puzzle. So,
Okay.
but yeah, Lil Sint. So we had Sergine, Lil Sint. Now Chris Young was there. Mm-hmm. And he's connected to a later performer as well.
Yes.
But Chris and Brittany Young have been a godsend to Philadelphia as a whole, but especially to the artist and creative community. Brittany used to run Great Awakenings Café. Great Awakenings is one of our vendors. She's no longer running that cafe, but they're there because of her.
Yeah.
Chris would always come with her, but he's a singer-songwriter, phenomenal. And then their daughter is actually the dancer,
Oh, wow.
Cammie, that we were
Okay.
talking about. So after Chris Young, there was Hallie, who's a poet, and that was her first time ever at Creatives. Then we had the OG Synovia,
Novia.
which was all a part of promoting a future thing with her.
Yes.
Because she's, there's some stuff going on with Synovia. So then Ike, I'm not even going to try to say his name because for 5 years I've been trying to say this man's name correctly and I haven't done it once.
I think he corrects you after every time you say it, too.
Ikechukuwu. He's like, that's not even close. But Ike, amazing artist.
He's been through multiple times. I always really like when he comes on. Whenever I see him walk in the room, I'm like, I hope he's pulled. I hope he's pulled.
Yeah, I hope his name gets pulled. Ike is phenomenal, and he's released a bunch of music.
Oh, yeah.
And he's done well. Like, his music has actually done really well. Mm-hmm. He has some ride or die fans that, like, go to the wall for him.
Because he's really good. He's another person that there's going to be a performance video of him out on the YouTube channel as well.
Hey, check it out. Then we also had this guy named Jake from State Farm.
Okay, now I'm getting tired of it.
You only heard it twice.
Exactly.
We'll come back to you, Jake. Then we had Darina, who's an incognito feature. OG. We'll talk about her. Rochelle, who has become the #1 most performances on Creatives over the last 18 months for sure.
She gets the trophy for 2022.
She absolutely gets this trophy.
23.
And then we had Cammie, who is dancing. She's 14. Chris and Brittany's daughter.
Yes.
Amazing dancer. She's done dances even with Abel for performances and stuff. Dances to a lot of Abel's music for content online. Then a girl by the name of Lunar Goddess. She came as a poet but got pulled as a singer because she dropped her name in both baskets. And there's a whole thing about that as well. And then we ended with Rob.
No.
That's what happened. Any of these you guys just want to pull out and talk about? We obviously can't go through all of them. We'll be here until 24 hours from now because they were all amazing. But
Lunar Goddess made my girlfriend cry while she was singing.
Really?
Oh.
Because she sounded like Erykah Badu, and my girlfriend's a really big Erykah Badu fan. But it was like we listened to her music that she has out on Spotify afterwards, and it was really good. But there was something about that performance in that moment, like she had the whole audience captivated. I really feel
That's
that
true.
way. Like, that was
true.
I can tell you what it was. It was the vulnerability of it.
Yeah.
So she came to be a poet. But, because of the way we do these cross-genre open mics where there's different baskets, if you can do multiple things, you might as well drop your name in different baskets to give yourself a better shot at getting picked. So she gets picked as a singer-songwriter. She doesn't really want to do singer-songwriter. She wants to do a poem, but she got picked from that genre.
Oh, snap.
So she was like thinking about just flipping it and doing a poem anyway.
Oh, really?
That would have been.
But I think she felt like she wasn't supposed to do that because she got picked for this specific thing. So she walked up there mad vulnerable.
Dang.
Like, I don't really do this. I don't really sing in front of people, but here we go. And she just goes in.
They could not tell.
She was crazy.
Yeah.
She was nice.
I mean, yeah, the runs she was hitting was like, it was bone chilling. Yeah. Well, Lunar Goddess, if you're listening, come to Two Lines open mic and you can
You'll
only
definitely
do
poetry.
Yeah,
That's facts.
yeah. If you hit us up on Instagram, I'll make sure that we get you on the list for next month's show.
Hey, you could be the music feature and you get to do both.
Yeah,
Jeez. Nah, there's something about her is like you could tell it's just natural giftings for sure.
Definitely.
Like it's just in her, you know what I mean, in all aspects to be creative. So
Yeah, the one that I want to bring out is Darina. Darina goes to my church. Darina is like an OG in the Christian hip hop era. Like she was like the Wande of Philadelphia back in the day.
Too?
She can sing a little bit, but she's really a rapper. She's like a rapper. So she actually had and I don't want to say gimmick, but a thing that made her really stand out. She can play the flute too. So she would rap and play the flute, and she would like beatbox with the flute and rap on song. It was like crazy. Back in the day, it was like very, very unique. Everybody knew
before
Darina.
Andre 3000 did it.
Yes, long before Andre 3000 did.
That's true. Just
We don't even know what Andre 3000 is doing. He's getting them stream numbers.
Hallucinogenics, I think.
Something. But no, Darina's just really talented, great human being. The guys that we've had on this podcast a bunch of times, Doc Hero, Sean Prez, like OGs kind of in the Christian hip hop community here in Philly are all good friends with her. I ran into her at a church event and I was telling her like, hey, you got to come back out to creative sometime. And you could just tell it hit her. And she's like, I think I'm actually supposed to say yes to this. Because she's like, I've been kind of pushing it off. She got kids and stuff, being in mama mode. And she's like, I feel like I'm probably supposed to say yes. I said, look, we have an event coming up on December 5th. If you want to be there, I will put you on the lineup. I'll give you an incognito slot because I know it's been a while, but you have a gift. And I don't know what Darina's going to do now with that, but I know it was important for her. It was like a God moment for her to be reminded of what she carries as an artist and that it's not something meant to die or to lay dormant, but she has a gift to carry forward. And so I love whenever that stuff happens because we have it all. We have really, really, really good professional people. We have first time I've ever performed, but I feel comfortable enough and compelled enough to be great. And then we have people who have like went dormant for a while. And this is like their coming back party.
Yeah.
And that's just so special to have all of those different stories in the same night. To have a 14-year-old dancing in front of all these people and somebody that's a little bit older than 14 rapping, a song from 10 years ago that still means something to them.
And
it was still hard. I was going to say, still bars. Still bars.
Oh, yeah, still bars.
Yeah.
She got bars. We could talk about all of these people for sure, but I think we should center on Jake for a second.
Yes.
Jacob Doggett. My gosh. Wow. That piece that you did, Jake became a spoken word artist. Like, I don't know when this happened, but it did. He started with Silence at a peer event about a while ago, a couple summers ago. And you've been going around Two Lines. You've been on the Two Lines team. You're in the poetry space. Even knowing all that, I had no idea that you were going to do that. I was told by AVG and Greg, Jake's new piece is crazy. He's coming. Hope he gets on the lineup. I still, even them telling me to raise my expectations to level 10, I still didn't know it was going to be that good.
Still wasn't ready.
Jacob, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Talk to us about the piece.
When I write, I don't workshop things. I don't have multiple sessions. Something will grip me and I'll knock out whatever it is that I'm supposed to be writing about, and that'll be it. I can't go back. KP, who is the guy who runs Breedlove, who ran Breedlove for years before my time in poetry here in Philadelphia, and he brought it back at the end of this last year, end of 2023. He had this beautiful poetry open mic space going, and I went like in the middle of November before Thanksgiving, and I did one of my old rap verses that I converted into like a spoken word piece. But I just felt like I felt more like a poet after that performance. The inspiration for this piece, what was the title that we went with, Jarrett? I don't remember. The Tides of the Time, I think.
Something like that.
Or The Tides of Time. I don't remember.
It's your piece, man.
No, that's what was funny. I was asking, I was like, yo, what's the name of your piece? And he's like, I don't know. I was like, how do you not know?
Yeah, something about time and tides.
We did The Tides of Time.
The Tides of Time. Yes, this piece, The Tides of Time. That piece gripped me from a family night, a Ripe family night. Like, I think it was Ripe's Giving. Yeah. So, because I performed it the first time.
Was that here? Was that at my house?
Yeah, it was here. I walked in your front door, and Gabriel AVG was sitting. He was sitting by the front door, and he looked like he was gonna fall asleep, like just sitting on the couch. And I looked at him, and there was like a moment that stretched out into infinity where like I felt like I related to what he was feeling so deeply, so profoundly, because here he was at a Ripe's Giving, like a party kind of thing, which, you know, was on a Monday night, but still like, and the thing that he needed to do was sleep. And something just gripped me in that moment, and I went home that night and I wrote the whole piece. And then, the first time that I performed it was the next day at Breedlove. And then the second time was
December 5th.
December 5th. Yeah, so like 2 weeks apart or 1 week apart, something like that. Yeah, so the piece is really, I guess there'll be a video coming out on it soon. And you and the audience can go find that on the YouTube. But the piece really is about the trouble that I see us having here in America of not having enough time to take care of all of the things that we need to take care of.
Yep.
Like no matter what we do. And then something that should be uplifting and rejuvenating for us, like Ripe's Giving, somehow can become yet another thing that's like dragging us down and weighing on us because we have so many burdens. And it seems like we can never rise above the tides of time, right? They're just always like crashing over us like waves and pushing us down, and we're just like exhausted everywhere we go. Mm-hmm. And I think that feeling just resonates with a lot of tired, frustrated people, which I knew when I wrote it. I was like, this is something that is for me, but is also for so many people.
Yep.
And I think that's what's good about it, is that it is relatable in a very deep and fundamental sense, and it resonates.
Yes, as the absolute word is the resonance. I will be very surprised if this video does not go viral. That's how incredibly good it is. Jarrett sent it to me a few weeks after the event.
I don't think I even sent you the final edited version.
Yeah,
I just sent you
raw
like, yo,
footage.
watch this, bro.
And because you were like, man, this hits, you know. And I just watched it through again, and I was like, wow. And I will just say this, Jake, it's not just me on this podcast gassing you. Multiple people in that room were like, is this the same Jake? Because that was incredible. And not to say that you were bad, but from even Silence, which I think Silence is a great piece. I'm actually a big fan of that piece. But it's not even in the same like stratosphere of what you performed with The Tides of Time. It's fantastic. Go to the YouTube. Watch it, you know, and come back and make your own assessment. But it was fantastic.
I always sit through. I'm the one who edits all the videos that end up going on YouTube, and I will sit and I will hear and watch the performances over and over again to decide which ones we actually make videos of. And even after that, I'm listening to it. I don't even know how many times to make sure it sounds good, make sure it looks good. And there were so many points where once I got to the video editing stage of your piece, I would get to the end, I'd be like, oh crap, I gotta go start over again because I wouldn't even be looking for editing. I would just be listening and watching it because I was wanting to take it in again. And like I'm not always someone who resonates with spoken word pieces, and that piece, like there was something about it that I just loved taking it in.
Thank you.
Yeah, something that I would say is like, I don't know. I think the fact that your name even got picked, I was like super stoked. But you being up there and the way that you even spoke and just your confidence and just your stage presence in that poem, it was just like it captivated the room. Like it really grabbed you. It grabbed the whole room. And I remember thinking in that moment, it was like, this man was born to create, because it's like this is a gift that was given by God. That the fact that you can like create something that was like so visual and like he was saying himself, like Jarrett was saying this himself, like he doesn't really resonate with spoken words, but he resonated. That's the same with me. Like I'm sitting here like, yo, this is hitting me in my soul right now, and I really don't even be listening to poems like that. And it was like, I don't know. All that to say is just like, I know for a fact that you were created to create, you know?
What you said is right, though. Like, there was something about the performance as well, because you can have a great spoken word piece, like written literature, written poems can have amazing impacts on people, but there is something to be said about the impact that comes from the performance and the delivery, because you were commanding the attention of that room.
Yep.
This all, like, I guess, like the stage presence that you guys are talking about, the delivery, the way that I was able to do the performance, like, that doesn't come overnight, even though the poem did. Like, I've been sitting in these poetry spaces for like 2 years now, you know, watching incredible artists like Mr. Scott here, Sir Gene, who was on the list that night,
she's
you know,
too.
Greg Snow, AVG, T Sleeveless, King Shiest, Femi the Dry Fish, Jayla, like, just like, so yeah, I just want to give credit to all of those people, because it's not like I learned by myself how to go up there and make a poem work. I've also seen a lot of bad poets, you know, I won't name, right? And so I know like what
Name them. No.
So I know what doesn't work on the stage, right? And which is just as important as knowing what does work. And it's something that, you know, as you guys are pointing out, I've really learned about poetry. Like, even since Two Lines, we moved to Deke's Barbecue, where there's like, now there's a mix of people who have come to see our show and then, you know, patrons of the establishment. And there were some people who performed at our last show who had a good piece but didn't command the room. And even though they had the attention of the audience that we brought in, they didn't have the attention of people sitting at the bar. And then there was people who would go up there and they commanded the room and they had the attention of the people sitting at the bar. And then that's how you know if like you really were giving something. But that, I just wanted to take that moment to say this. Like, if you are listening to this and you are creating something, whether it's art, music, poetry, dance, whatever it may be, like, take the time to go into spaces where people are doing that for real, because there's not going to be a replacement for being able to take in by osmosis the tricks of the trade of like how to perform, how to deliver, how to command a stage, all of those things. Scott, one time we went to Miss Seeley's Blues, which is an open mic in New Jersey. It was me, Greg Snow, and Scott. And this was one of those situations where Scott, I don't think, was going to perform. And the guy who was running it was like, saw Scott, and he was like, I'm putting you on the list. And Scott goes up, and I don't know if I had heard you perform before that. That might have been the first time. You did NBA, though. And this was a very secular environment. You know, great people, but like, Scott came up and did a Christian piece, but it was NBA. I just remember you changed the atmosphere in the bar, like, with your piece. Like, all of the tension that had been in the room like prior was like sucked out. God's piece replaced it. And that was because of how you went up there and delivered the piece. And that's a great poem, but it has a different impact every single time I see you do it, because I've seen you do it in so many different environments now. And I've seen even the way you tweak yourself in your delivery and your stage presence based on where you are and the people that you're around. So find people who can teach you even if they don't even know they're teaching you, and find spaces where you can learn even if you don't know you're learning.
It's good.
That's a lesson of life. Never be the best person in the room at what you're doing. Never be the best person you know at what you're doing.
There you go.
Unless you're Jarrett, then be the best person.
Bro, you should meet some of the people I know, bro. They make me looking like an amateur.
I'm saying in the room, though.
No.
Jarrett, if we find somebody better than you, I'll be very surprised. Jake, thank you for that. And for the encouragement, exhortation. I appreciate it. That has definitely been my heart, is be excellent enough at what you do to be able to have an impact in any room that you step into. And on December 5th, 2023, you did that. At Creative. So make sure you guys watch that video. If you haven't paused this podcast and went and watched the video yet, you're missing out, because it's fantastic. Whew, Jake, well done. Let's get to our closing boy, Mr. Roberto Morales, incognito feature. Now, crazy story is, because of what was going on in my family's life, and with me and my wife and everything going on, really, you were a last minute addition.
Yeah, it was,
which is not super
random.
normal for us. I think we're going to end the show with Darina, and then the conversation. I don't know how it happened. Maybe you remember, Greg
walked in the house, and I was just there, and you were on the phone with him.
That's exactly what happened. I was on the phone with Greg, and Greg was like, "You should get Rob Morales to sing at Creatives," and I was like, "Yeah, that'd be fine."
I thought he was joking though. I think
Was he?
I don't know. Maybe
It's hard
I
to
think
tell
he
with
was.
him. You never
Yeah,
know.
you never
It's
know.
Greg, bro.
Yeah. So you should get Rob. I mean, he was being serious, but also joking.
I think he had just heard some of your stuff that was unreleased.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yo, it's really good. Rob would this would be great for him." And I think I was like, "All right, well, I can probably give him the middle incognito slot or the opener slot." And then just something in my gut, I don't know how else to explain it. I really do believe it was the Holy Spirit. Just was like, "No, let him close. Give him the 12 to 15. Give him the biggest slot of the night. Let him close out the night." And I was like, "Okay." I'd never really heard you sing.
That's wild because you never heard me sing.
Yeah.
Gambling.
Just felt like it was the right thing to do. And you responded by making sure everybody from New Life came, which was actually a blessing, because in a lot of ways that room was there for you. You know, the entire night, the audience was in the room because of you, because this was actually your first
and they had to wait the whole show to see him.
They weren't waiting
Audience
for junk,
retention,
though.
man. That's how it works.
They weren't waiting for junk, though. They were getting hit artist after artist all night long. But they all came for you. Was this actually your first live performance?
Yeah. A lot of them were really a couple people from my church, New Life, but there was just a lot of people that just came to support, man, and just shout out everybody, because I just felt really supported and really loved. But yeah, it was my first performance. I've sang in front of, it was my first performance, for sure. It was my first ever. So it was kind of crazy that I'm closing out for a banger Creatives open mic like this. It was just how is this even happening? So
yeah. I mean, that's the kingdom, man. God.
Yeah. It was a God thing for sure, bro.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But Rob, you freaking killed it, bro.
Absolutely.
Shit, man.
Yeah. Knocked my socks off.
You actually sent me, man, you were encouraging, Jake. You sent me a message after, man. And I think because I could be really hard on myself, and I'm not one of those people who, I know that I'm not this artist or this singer that it will just knock your socks off. I'm not a crazy singer, but I know that God has instilled in me just something that is just pouring out to worship Him. And Jake had just sent me a voice message. Again, I'm really hard on myself in terms of creating, because I'm a perfectionist. It's I won't because I don't think it sounds as good as who inspires me, then that can affect me a big time, which is, I know it's just horrible. As of recently, I'm learning just to create, just create for yourself. If you like it, then run with it. You know what I mean? But, Jake had hit me up after and was like, "Yo, man, I saw your heart, and how you were singing." And it doesn't matter how the heck I sounded. That's what matters. You know what I mean? Is that people see the heart behind it. And I was just like that. In a way, part of me is like, dang, I wish that I sounded like this, or I wish that I sang that better, or you know what I mean? Being my first performance or whatever, it's like I'm trying to really set the standard like for myself. But yeah, man, just kind of leveling out everything. Like Jake hit me up and just encouraging me, really, just encouraged me big time. So thank you, bro. So
yeah. I mean, there's always ways to improve.
Yeah.
Right. The second we stop improving, like we've completely missed the mark. But you killed it. Like there was not like oh man, if this and this. Like even if I had a critical eye, which I didn't because I was just blessed by it. But if I had a critical eye, I don't know what I could pull out because it was that good. My one critique on us was I wish we would have pulled the piano to the middle of the stage. Like I wish we had thought to do that.
That would have been cool.
Because you were sitting over where the,
At the
keyboard player, where the keyboard player was for the
halfway
live
off
band.
the stage.
Yeah.
Dang, that makes
So
sense.
next time, that's something we'll do differently. But your performance, the way that you carried the songs, the way that you story told, like going into songs and why you were doing what you were doing and how much this meant to you, and even just like the affirming people's presence in the room. Like, thank you guys so much for coming. This really means a lot. Thanks to these people for putting this on. Like, it was beautiful, man. Like your heart, exactly what Jake said, was on display on the stage. And that's not your own heart. That's God's heart, right?
Sure.
He took the heart of flesh. He took the heart of stone, gave you a heart of flesh, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have God's heart by grace that you get to live out in this world, and it impacts people everywhere you go. And I think that is why people came to support you, because of how you built real relationship with a whole lot of people. And I think that's also why you're given the influence that you have into spaces that a lot of people don't get access to. Like God's put you in those spaces because your heart is really pure. Yeah. You aren't looking for something from those access points. You're just looking to love people. And that is super attractive to people. You know what I mean? So I thought the entire thing was really beautiful. The one thing that was interesting for me is we don't usually let people do worship at the Creatives Cafe open mic because it is a mixed environment. And for a lot of people, that would be like a little bit of a stretch. Yeah. But because the lineup was the lineup leading up to you, it was obvious to me that it was a sovereignty of God thing to end the whole night with worship, because it was like a lot of worship through poetry, through singer-songwriter, through hip-hop all night for you to say, like, let's do a communal song for worship to end the night, even though that's not normally something we would do. It fit perfectly for December 5th.
Yeah. I didn't even plan on it either.
It was the natural next step for that night. That particular date, it was perfect.
Wow. Praise God, man. Yeah, because I didn't even plan on doing that. Like, I was just going to run it up just 2 songs and just dip. But I was like, whatever, let's just do it. And the whole band came up and just got jiggy too. It was lit. It was definitely lit.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, and I said this in my voice message to you in part, but I want to say that, like, me and my girlfriend were blessed by your performance, because we got a piece of your testimony, and that was really beautiful. I'd say the thing that struck me, like, outright, was that you seek, in your relationship with God, you seek His love first. And that was really convicting for me, because although that was how God introduced Himself to me, was His love for me, I had forgotten that was what I should seek first, to the point where I didn't even realize that wasn't what I was doing, or that was the objective or the goal. And then seeing you pour out your heart through song in such a way that showed that what you were looking for in God was His love, what you were wanting to receive from God was His love, and then the outpouring in that moment was God's love onto you, overflowing from you down the stage into the audience, hitting me in my face, like calling me out, like, that's a beautiful thing. And yeah, I just want to use that to encourage you and say that, because I'm usually very critical of just like worship music in general. And I'm always probably to a fault, like trying to overanalyze. But I didn't have an opportunity to analyze it to a certain degree, because it was just like being genuinely struck by God's love to you, through you, out to the people who were
Thank you, man.
present there.
That means a lot, man. But I wanted to give a shout out to Jess, because her and I had written the one piece that talks about like God's never failing, ending love. I had like a first verse and a chorus, and I went to Jess's house. I'm like, yo, I've been writing this thing. And she actually helped me write. So we like co-wrote it. So just shout out to Jess Shaboni. She's just so talented and gifted. So yeah.
Baby sis.
Yeah, I regret not saying that on the stage, because it's true, you know, like you want to give credit to where it's due. So
yeah,
shout out Jess.
Luckily, we got this podcast. We can do it now. But yeah, like that's what I'm saying. There's always ways to improve. Like even that moment,
Sure.
It's like don't beat yourself up about it, but put that in the pocket for the next time, right? Like there's always. I mean, we debrief every show. I mean, this podcast is like basically a debrief, right? And figuring out the good things and things that could have went better or whatever else. But genuinely, Rob, you absolutely killed it. The same way that Jake captivated the room, commanded the room, and God used him mightily to impact people's lives, the same exact thing is said and is true about your performance at the end of the night. And it was like what a perfect way to end
No, for real.
this night that was so great throughout. Everybody killing it. And it was a capstone on the night, was Rob Morales. And the fact that it was your performance, I feel super honored. Like I'm going to keep that in my backpack for life, because your trajectory, if your mission, if you so choose to accept it, Tom Cruise, like is out of this world, beyond anything you could ever ask, think, or imagine. Like the gift on your life is absurd, right? Like where you can go with music, if you so desire to go, is absurd. Like I genuinely believe that.
Thank you, man.
You're going to have to walk through your own process of like figuring out if that's what you want to do. But if you want to, it's available to you. And the fact that we can kind of hang our hat, that guy that you see right there, yeah, his first ever time was Creators Café, baby.
I mean, who knows? There may or may not be video evidence of that coming out too.
Oh, yeah, there's video evidence of that one too?
Maybe.
You better check it out. Listen. Rob, you killed it, man. I'm super proud of both of you guys.
Thank you.
It's humbling because, as Jarrett knows, I wrestle a lot with creatives because it's a big investment.
Yes.
Time, energy, and resource. And we don't have a lot of the third or the second or the first. We're trying to steward what we have to the best of our abilities. And I've wrestled over and over and over again. Do we just shut down creatives open mics? Wow. Because there's so many other open mics in the city. And because it is a big investment, is this worth it? December 5th, 2023 was like a slap across the face.
Whenever you bring that up, we don't argue, but we'll go back and forth, and it always comes back to the exact same thing. We wouldn't have the community we have without creatives. And we don't want to stop because we don't know what community we are going to lose if we don't do it.
Like who doesn't jump into Ripe?
Yeah.
Become who is the next Ripe artist?
Yeah.
That we never meet because we didn't do these open mics. And that's where it's like, man, we can't shut this down.
Because so many people
half
in
of our
community,
team,
over half our team. I wouldn't be here. Leah wouldn't be here. Eva wouldn't be here. Like we literally have the episode talking about Eve's connection through the open mic and how that was like the turning point for her becoming a Ripe artist.
Yep, was her performing as an incognito at Creatives.
Rashid.
Yep, Rashid, same thing. So that's like the part of it. It's like, you know what, God, like this does have value. Even if the ticket sales don't match the expenses, right? It's which it never does.
Nope.
But it has value. Yeah. And yeah, I guess all of that to say, maybe you have to become a Ripe artist for it to have value. I'll tease.
Sign here.
Jake is a right poet, though. He's a right poet in the making.
Ooh.
I don't know. There seems like there's a lot of closed door conversations happening between you and Greg because there's always a wink and a nudge whenever I see you guys now. Since then,
I was trying to take you on tour, man. I said, let's get an SUV. We gotta up the ante.
We out.
We can't take the sedan.
Next tour.
Next tour, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, you know what I mean? So I think it's December 5th. I'm just saying, I'll say it again, but it was a slap in the face from the Lord to be like, don't you dare. Don't you dare look at just the budget line and the big negative number in front of that amount of money that was invested in this night and think that is what translates to whether you should do this or not.
Well,
Like, I will provide. And he always does. We don't know how, but he always does. We still exist, 4+ years in, we're still here.
It's really hard sometimes because when you're in the event space and when you're in pulling off events and things like that, like the bottom line is always like, hey, is this profitable? And we constantly have to remind ourselves this is ministry. Ministry doesn't necessarily mean profitable in a monetary value.
Yeah, I mean, we are a nonprofit, right? So it's not even the sense that we want to be profitable.
And that's what I'm saying. Like it's reminding ourselves like we have higher goals that we're aiming for, and we are hitting those.
Yeah, well, it's the financial aspect. I'll just name it this way: is this good stewardship?
Yeah,
because we could use this money in other directions, right? We could use this money to fund a 3-stop tour for Leah, or we could use this money to fund a coaching session for Demir, or whatever. Like, we could use these funds to help do marketing for Abel's first album, right? Like, you can use money infinite amount of ways. Yeah. So anytime you use money in one way, you're thinking about, okay, this is a no to everything else other than this thing. So that's the wrestle. Is the resources we're investing in creatives, which we know is just going to be net negative financially, a big cost. Is that worth it? Yes.
yeah.
well,
Yes, it is. As long as we have the ability to invest the resources into creatives events and put them together, and we have the time, energy to be able to do it, the night itself is never lacking of value.
I feel like I'm getting financial wisdom right now. Like, I feel like I'm getting convicted of going to Chipotle or something. Like, I gotta,
My bad.
I gotta invest my money into what I need to invest in the kingdom, man.
So
Yeah, I want to just add, like, there's a ton of open mics in the city, but there's only one Philly Creatives open mic, so I think it wouldn't just be the people in the Ripe circle that would miss the open mic. There's a ton of people all over the city who have been or haven't been yet, who need that experience. So
it's fair. It's fair. Yeah, we didn't realize it, but after December's open mic, we officially had 1,500 unique emails that had registered for creatives. That was also a pretty big milestone, which is roughly about 2,000 unique visitors, between 2,000 and 2,500 unique people that have been to creatives.
Yep.
Not all at once, obviously, but over the course of all of our events. Because you kind of think like, oh, we're just reaching the same people, the same 100 people every event. No, we're actually reaching a lot of different people every single month that we throw one of these.
Man.
Our lineups change very regularly.
Yeah. On the open mic. Yeah. You'll have people like Rochelle, love you, Rochelle, that comes to all of them and kills it every time and does her thing. But then you have, out of this list, I think 6 or 5 of them that had never been to an event before, or 6
or at least they hadn't performed in months.
Right. So I appreciate that, Jake. I mean, it's always a wrestle. I'll tell you one thing, though, y'all. If there's something that we hope would be an outcome even from doing these episodes, it'd be to encourage our listeners to, one, say thank you if you already partner with us, because your generosity is what enables us to take the risk to throw an event like a Creatives Cafe, to have the type of testimonies out of it that we do. But if you're here and you don't partner with us, to jump on our website and consider giving to partner with us so we can do more of these. Because that's the only thing standing in the way of us doing even more and more open mics is just resource. If we have it, we can do it, but we do need it in order to do it. So I just want to give you guys, I feel like we spent a lot of time talking about the impact on us, the impact on you two, and the overall value of creatives. Did you guys have any interactions or convos at the end of the night just with people that came or something that were valuable as well.
Yeah, just talking to Abel, man. Talking to Abel after, and the way that he is so encouraging, and his heart for the Lord is something beautiful to see. And his humility, and he was just inspiring. He didn't perform, did he?
He did. He wasn't on this list, but he did perform.
He did. He did jump in there in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, we threw him in because we were short of hip-hop artists.
He was right before Rob.
He was right before
Is that
Rob.
how it went?
Yeah, it was
because we threw him in after Lunar Goddess right before Rob. You're right, we did. Because he was coming out with the drop the beat.
It was
the Holy
Parker
Smoke
freestyle.
Yeah. He did.
Yeah, he did perform right before you.
Yeah, because I was talking to him after, and I remember he was telling me just like kind of expectations that he has when he's performing and stuff, and we just we're chatting it up after, and just all the just great wisdom nuggets that he just throws at me, man, and just is like helping me in terms of what it means to be a creative. You know, that we're just here to recycle what the Lord has already created, and it's like we're here to give Him glory, and there's so much peace in that. There's it's like the expectations and the standard. You want to hold yourself to high standards, but it's about His glory. It's not about our glory. So yeah, that was something that really stuck out to me too. So shout out Abel, man, for sure.
Yeah, I think for me, I definitely have built relationships from going to the open mics in the past, like in the time afterwards, whether we go out to eat or just standing there talking. This time specifically, I don't know. I feel like the end was like after Rob's thing. I don't remember a lot of what happened. I think it was mostly me trying to get my girlfriend and my neighbor who I brought with me, Albert. I think you met Albert.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I think I was trying to get them out of there, and it was like I would grab one of them, and then the other one would be talking, and then it was something like that. But I do know that Albert met a bunch of people that night, and was like I just saw, like, I remembered for me how it was when I first started going to creatives, and how it was like so easy to just like make friends there and make connections and build relationships. And I saw Albert doing that. It's like a really great place to meet people. Like, I don't, it's something, probably has to do with the way you guys pray over the space, the way you guys stored the space, and how you guys just approach the nights when you have those shows. It's just like it's fertile ground. Right? The time is ripe for the good soil or something like that. Yeah.
Go ahead, back to back. Yeah, I praise God, and that's not us. That's Him. Mm-hmm. All right, all glory to Him for sure. We do our part to create space for God to move. We set up the banks, but He's got to bring the river, and He always does, man. And it's an honor to see Him do His thing and to play our parts. And we have a really good team. We talk about it anytime we're talking about our creatives events. Is the team is just bar none. I genuinely, in the group chat for the Creatives Philly team, I just feel like they're the best people in the city. Like, in terms of their character, their love for Jesus, their commitment to His bride, their commitment to the work. I don't have to look over anybody's shoulder and say, "Are you doing this right?" at a creatives event, because everybody's doing their part well. Jarrett sometimes has to look over mine because I forget to bring a mic out or something, but
yeah, he won't always turn his mic on.
Something like that, But
I'll text Dan, "Hey, make sure it's on."
Just up there talking to nobody. But it's a really good team, and I'm thankful, man. And like, my heart is sustainability and infrastructure to be able to continue these things. But we know that it's worth the investment. We know that it's been worth the resources put into it. Because of these types of stories, because of Rob Morales getting an opportunity that is a seed being sown into his good soil that will produce something, in his own life down
when the time
line.
is ripe.
Yeah, there you go, Jake. Just get them all in there. Maybe he has 2 more lines. Cannon. But seriously, thank God for giving us this thing. I mean, it's a crazy story how even creative started, you know. Came out of need for my wife and I in a really tumultuous time. And we needed resources for surgery and stuff that we didn't know was going to be there. And it was kind of a scary thing. And we needed like $5,000. And we kind of said, well, we can just ask people for $5,000. We could do a GoFundMe. We could make some phone calls. I could go speak at 5 retreats, you know, and make $5,000. Like, we need $5,000. And that was the impetus to be like, what if we threw an event? And because we always had thought about throwing an event. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd been performing at events for 10 years. And it was like, let's just throw an event, see what happens. So we threw our first open mic.
And you actually made money?
Well, yeah, because we didn't pay anybody.
Everyone volunteered.
Everybody volunteered. So, but with that, we had that money. And the insurance ended up coming through. And we didn't know as much as we thought.
Wow.
So we got to pay off the debt that we did have. And the very next event, we said, okay, what if we take the tickets and we invested into the people? Mm. And we did giveaways. We gave away gift cards to people who performed, and we paid people who performed, and we paid the band and sound engineers and DJs and all that stuff. And it was like, what if we create an ecosystem where the funds from these events can go to support artists? Mm. Mm. And we've been doing that for 5 years. And sometimes we give away more than we get, but God is providing through the generosity of others to continue this thing. So it's a fun ecosystem. It's not normal what we have, you know, but I do believe in what we're doing, you know, and I believe it's worth investing in. And that's why we're always asking people at the end of every episode, like, yo, partner with us, fam, because I promise what we're doing is good. Like, I promise what we're doing is making an impact and an impression on people's lives. We just want to be able to sustain it and produce more of them, you know?
Definitely.
Listen, it's been a long one. We love you. Thank you to Jake. Thank you to Rob for being here.
Yep.
Yes.
As always, thank you to Top Mop Productions for producing, editing, releasing, mixing, recording all of these episodes here on The Time Is Right. We love y'all. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time.
Until next season.
Until next season. Oh my gosh, season 3 is coming.
Are we the season finale?
This is season finale, baby.
Wait, I'm sorry, guys.
Until next time. Yeah.